But the state has already apologized to you for the delay in reconvening.
Not yet.
The court was in use for other matters. Yeah, well, this is cross-examination, isn't it? You were conversing with the State Council yesterday. The procedure is that now you will be cross-examined by the lawyers representing the accused persons. You need to listen to the questions and answer them directly, the best of your ability, and as honestly as you can. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. So thank you very much for your testimony, witness. I just want you to start by maybe classifying these schemes that fall under or used to fall under the Ministry of Lands. So when you call a scheme a presidential pass-on scheme, I suppose it must be very, very important, and it must be a very critical scheme. Am I correct?
Yeah, wongo zvinoshira kuti yakakoshera hurumende, yakakoshera mhuri yeZimbabwe, yakakoshera Zimbabwe, yakakoshera mukuru womutungamiri weZimbabwe. So mubvunzo wenyu?
Yes, so it would mean that it's a very important scheme because it's important for the country, the citizens, as well as it's important for the president as well.
So zvikuru sei tine programs ataiti productive social programs or social productive programs ndo ainyanyo classifyiwa under the presidential banner.
So we had social productive schemes that were very important. Those are the ones that were classified under the presidential banner.
Kozouyawo mamwe rumwe rutivi matindipe maclasses emaprograms edu. Rumwe rutivi tanga tiine commercially oriented productive programs.
On the other hand, we had
commercially oriented productive programs.
Commercially oriented productive programs.
Aya ndo aitargeta vaya vane mari dzavo, vane maresources avo, vaenda kumabhanga hurumende ichifacilitator.
These programs were targeted at those who had financial means such that they would approach their banks, okay, and the government would assist.
Okay, I think I'm answered. Thank you very much for that. So because of that, one would anticipate that your ministry would obviously have been very meticulous in the way in which it deals with a presidential gold pass-on scheme. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, when the ministry decided to endeavor into this tender, you were led and you related to a government gazette and a Sunday Mail gazette, correct? Exhibit 5 and exhibit page 51 and page 52.
Yes.
I think it's on page 51 and page 52. Right. So So it means you gave notice to the whole country, to everyone, to say whoever wants to come and bid for this can come and participate. So it was a fair and open tender system.
Saka pamakakwanisa kunge muchishambadza paunapika nawayo zvinoreva kuti maishambadza kune munhu wese kuti saka aikwanisa kuti achizobida.
Hongo makambani vaikwanisa kumita ma-requirements anga stated vaikwanisa izvozvo.
Yes, that is correct. The companies that were able to meet the requirements could participate.
Thank you very much. So in other words, this tender was limited to companies, to corporates.
Saka nemamwe mashoko iri tender raingova ava nemacompanies.
Hongo ndosaka one of the requirements yanga iri certificate of incorporation.
Yes, that is correct. And that is why one of the requirements was a certificate of incorporation,
Chinova ndochitupa chemakambani.
which is a license for companies.
I don't think so.
ID for companies.
Okay.
You are very correct, Doctor, and I agree with you. In fact, paragraph 6 of page 4 of the standard bidding document confines that tender and bidding to corporates and companies, and it made a requirement for the production of those company documents. I agree with you. So, if we then take that to the natural conclusion, this tender was not open for Moses MPOFU to enter into as a natural person.
Saka kana tichita saizvo zvinoreva kuti tender inganga risiri kusina kubvita kakuna Moses semunhu akazvipira.
Hongo
Yes.
yanga iripo for ma-companies evanhu.
It was meant for companies.
Most MPOFU is the
First accused, my lord,
okay.
and also the second accused, I presume. So I'll be correct if I say Moses MPOFU or first accused person did not participate in this tender.
Saka ndiye ndichireva saka ndikati Moses MPOFU haana kunge achiparticipate papatender.
Ndo zvazvingareva akauya akamirira kambani.
That is what it could mean. He came representing a company.
Yes, I'm talking of his person. I'm saying Moses MPOFU as a person, himself personal. He did not participate. He did not submit bidding documents saying, I, Moses MPOFU, want to participate in this tender, in this way. I want to supply government with goods.
Haana kuuya vachiti ndini saMoses MPOFU ndida kunge ndichiparticipate patender vachiuya nemapepa avo.
Ndo zvandapindura. Kambani yakauya ine varidzi vakaemerera.
That is what I have already answered to. That the company is the one that came with the representatives.
Right. On the list of the people who participated in the bid, the 4 people that participated in the bid, none of them is called Moses MPOFU, correct?
Vanhu 4 vakaparticipata pabhidhira hapana kapakati pavo anonzi Moses MPOFU.
Hapana Moses MPOFU akauya akamirira kambani yanzi Black Deck.
Yes, that is correct. None of them are Moses MPOFU. Moses MPOFU came representing Black Deck.
Now, can you list for the record the parties that participated in this bid?
Dzungado makambani acho akaparticipata pabhidhira.
Kana ndicharangarira panga paine yanzi Cotram,
There was Cotram,
kozoya Black Deck,
Black Deck,
kozoya Willitech,
Willitech,
kozoya yanzi Zvikomborero. Ndo vanga vari 4.
and Chikomborero. Those were the 4 companies.
So you confirm when these parties participated in the bid, they indicated the costing structure of how they were going to be able to deliver onto that tender, and they indicated their pricing based on that.
Yes.
And you did not, or you were not shown, or you were not asked to present to the court the bidding documents that these 4 companies presented to your ministry, correct?
Ma documents iwayo aripo asiko zvino andisati ndakumbirwa kuti tinge timabudisa.
Those documents are available, but I have not yet been asked to produce them.
Mukushanda kwenyu kwamakaita documents, sorry, pardon me, my lord. That's 50.
Maybe the interpreter can help. Very well, proceed.
Yes. In how you worked in your ministry, these documents were of a critical nature and they were very important in the bidding process. Is that correct?
Hongu, kana ndanzwa mvunzo wenyu kutanga zvakanaka, matimi vakasubmita chi uye munazvo here wakawaumbowo here before this court. For sure, Roma documents, that was their response to the bid, to the tender.
Yes, if I heard you correctly, you asked me about the documents that they produced, and those are the documents.
So that would solve them that. But can actually do, I'm sure the state can provide.
The documents were produced, and if they are required, they can be provided.
Now, can you confirm that, in fact, it is a requirement in terms of page 5 of the standard bidding documents that each company that participated in the bid would present an original copy of their original bidding documents and 2 copies, and that they would mark the original copy that this is the original copy and mark the other copies that these are copies. Is that correct?
But anyway, this is technical and it's for the procurement and evaluation committee. My copies in it's technical, not for the accounting officers.
The number of copies that are marked, that's for the procurement office.
Okay, I would want to refer you to page number 5 of the standard bidding document.
So it's page 5?
Yes.
Exhibit what?
The very first exhibit, which is written exhibit number 3, the standard bidding document. Maybe I could help. Yes, that page. The second from, yes, it is. Page 5 of 19.
Yeah.
Yes. The second paragraph from bottom, I want you to read it for the record. To read it out loud for the record.
Do you really want me to read?
Yes.
So the bidder must prepare one original of the documents comprising the bid and clearly mark it original. In addition, 2 copies of the bid, which must be clearly marked copy in the event of any discrepancy between the original and the copies. And the copies, the original will prevail.
So you agree with me that the standard bidding document required that every bidder submits one original bidding document and 2 copies, and that they would mark that this is the original and these are copies.
Okay, yeah, now after reading and clarifying this, yes.
Okay. In your evidence in chief, you have not related to the original bidding document that Black Deck Private Limited submitted.
Well, if I remember correctly, sorry, come again, your question?
Okay. Maybe let me ask it in another way.
Yeah.
When you gave evidence, you were not shown, you were not presented, you did not hold and comment on the original document that Black Deck Private Limited submitted to your ministry.
Yeah, as of yesterday for sure, I think we were relying on copies of the submissions by Black Deck, not the original, certainly.
Those copies were not the copies of the bidding documents that were submitted to your ministry. Those copies were purportedly plugged out pages from the bidding documents, correct?
So kana ndichitarisa zvakanaka nezuro, because anga ine ma-stems, I would suggest kuti ndiwo ma-copies of what was submitted by Black Deck.
I would suggest that the copies that were produced yesterday were the copies that were submitted by Black Deck because of the stamps on them.
No. Well, my question is this, Doc. You did not relate to the bidding document of Black Deck Private Limited, which is marked copy as indicated here, as an entire bidding document. But you were dealing with maybe just a page of what is purported to be a tax clearance certificate or something.
Okay, so look, kana zvichidiwa, this information can be provided.
If they are required, then they can be provided.
No, don't worry of whether or not they are required. I want you to answer that you were not given the bidding document of Black Deck Private Limited. That's what I want you to confirm. Don't worry about whether or not they are required.
My Lord, with respect, this issue arose, the issue of documentary exhibits arose during the witnesses' evidence in chief, when the defense counsels objected to their production and the court had to adjourn. And the issue of the tendered documents was addressed and they were properly admitted, and there was no objection to their production because they met the requirements for their production. So I don't understand what my little colleague is trying to confuse the witness about, because that issue was resolved. The court had to take a 10-minute adjournment, and the documents that were produced by consent of both parties. So if there was anything wrong with the documents, they should not have been produced by consent. They cannot now be challenged after they've been produced by consent.
Yes, my lord. I take note that my learned colleague has indicated that he does not understand I submit, my lord, that my learned colleague cannot answer for the witness. I'm simply putting a question to the witness whether or not he related to the entirety of a bidding document of Black Deck Private Limited. If he did, you'd say, yes, I did. If he did not, you'd say, I did not. If he's confused about it, he can ask for me to clarify. My lord, I say so because...
I'm also confused.
Okay, my lord, maybe...
Because the state produced the documents through the witness.
Yes, my lord.
And we know the documents that were produced, we are in possession of them.
Yes.
We don't know where the state was plucking them from. That's entirely something peculiarly known by the prosecutor. And we all know that the documents that were produced were copies. The reason why I'm confused, although cross-examination is an art, but sometimes you wonder what counsel is leading to. Because it's common cause that indeed the documents that were produced were copies. You don't need to ascertain that because it's a fact that we all know. You know, I know, everybody here knows. So I just left you to proceed because I thought maybe you were laying groundwork for something. But in as far as the documents that were produced, we could see the prosecutor producing them from somewhere and giving them to the witness to identify and comment. That is what happened. We all know that. It's common cause, it's on record. That does not require the witness to confirm because it's something that happened in the presence of the court and in your presence. No. So the reason why I say I'm confused is that I just left you to proceed because I thought maybe papers of cross-examination, maybe you have something, the point that you're having, but clearly you are not adding anything new to what we already know.
Well, my lord,
if you want to make a point arising from those copies, then make it. It's a fact. If anything then arises from it, which you need to cross-examine on, then you can.
My lord, the point that I am putting to the witness is that the bidding document for Black Deck Private Limited has not been produced.
We all know.
It's not one of the listed exhibits.
Yeah, but it should the witness answer for that?
Yes, my lord. I submit that the witness must relate to it and must relate to the importance of that document and must relate to the fact that...
Wait a minute, Mr. Jotel. What I'm saying is that it is a fact that the witness is not related to what you say is the original.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
And we all know that. But the witness is not in a position to explain why. Because he's not producing documents.
Pardon me, my lord. I did not ask the witness to explain why. I'm asking him to confirm.
But don't you know, Mr. Jotel, that the original was not produced?
Even the copy, my lord, in terms of...
Do you not know that it was not produced?
I do know, my lord.
Does the court not know that it was produced?
It does, my lord.
But is it anything that he can testify on? Because it's something that happened in the presence of the court. He has come to tell us what he knows about this case, not what we experienced. You and I were in court, the assessors were in court, we know what happened. And that does not require evidence. There are certain things that do not require evidence. You know about things that the court can take judicial notice of, things that are known to the court, and things that can easily be ascertained. But we all know that the original is not produced. You can proceed, but I'm not, unless you are laying basis for something, which is the reason why I did not intervene.
Indeed, my lord.
But clearly, there's no point in asking the witness to confirm that, because we all know it's on record that the original was not produced.
My lord, maybe the confusion maybe would come from the fact that I am not saying that the original ought to have been produced. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying the bidding documents, whether the original or copies of the bidding document were not produced.
Yes.
And that what was then produced was plugged.
Do you require that to be proved?
Yes, my lord, because the original bidding document for Black Deck and the two copies for Black Deck were presented to his ministry. He is the custodian of... those
What I'm
documents.
saying is that there are certain things that do not require proof. The purpose of cross-examination is to establish facts or to deal with the credibility of the witness. You see, so the fact that the state has not produced the documents is already known to the court. You don't need to establish that through a witness, the witness who is in court. Do you understand? That's all I'm saying. It's already known to the court. You don't need to prove it.
The point that I wanted to prove, in my lord,
Yes.
was that the alleged documents
Yes.
are alleged to have been plugged out of either the original or the copies.
We don't
officially.
You want him to prove that? You
Yes,
want
those are the questions that I'm putting to the witness, and I want him
Sorry,
to.
what do you want? You want him to what?
I want him to answer, my lord, as to, say, for example, the tax clearance certificate, which is an issue, my lord. That tax clearance certificate, that copy of the tax clearance certificate, is a page that is allegedly plugged out of a document that is in his custody. So I want that to be laid as evidence before this honorable court. Because the state has plugged out what it calls the forged NASA certificate, what it calls the forged tax clearance certificate. Those two documents has been plugged out of a bunch of a bundle of a document that is either required by law to have been marked as original or copy. So the state must produce an entire thing rather than plug out. And it is evident, it is a fact in issue of whether or not.
You mean that the state was not supposed to produce the documents in the manner they did?
Yes.
But how does the witness become answerable for that?
No. I will make submissions, my lord. But there are two questions. There's a question of fact, and there's a question of law from those facts. The first question of fact, my lord, is whether or not the tax clearance exhibit number 1, for example, my lord, where does it come from? It's a question of fact. Is it coming from the bidding document? Is it coming from the documents that are in his custody or not? It's a question of fact. Whether exhibit number 2 comes from documents that are lawfully from his custody, it's a question of fact. And it is only this witness, being the accounting officer, who can tell us that indeed exhibit 1 was part of the bundle of document or the bunch or the book, which we call Black Decks.
So why don't you ask the question that you want to question?
That's right.
All you are saying is that, are you saying that, for example, we know exhibit 1?
Yes, my lord.
You want the witness to confirm whether it was part of the
that's
the
where
bid.
I'm going. Yes.
Yes.
My lord.
Why don't you ask that question?
My lord,
I'm saying the fact that copies were produced is already known to the court. What you should be asking, maybe you want to ascertain whether it is in fact was part of the bid that was submitted.
Yes, my lord.
So you can ask that question.
My lord, I was simply laying a foundation, my lord, for my question. My learned colleague has just objected, but this is where I'm going. I must establish to the court and to everyone, my lord, that there is a document which is called a bidding document for Black Deck, which was submitted to him. And then to his ministry. That is the first question, is building up to that. And then the second question is that bidding document had 100 pages, 20 pages, 40 pages, and that document had 1 original and 2 copies. I must establish those facts. And then that whether or not the alleged exhibits, number 1 and number 2, the alleged forged documents, whether or not they were part of that. That is where I'm going, my lord.
Well, yes, but the objection. But did you understand the objection? The gist of the objection.
My lord, I had understood the gist of the objection to have been. My learned colleague must have been thinking that I was challenging the originality of the document. That we accepted the documents as copies, so I can no longer now raise it as if I'm saying it ought to have been an original. That is not what I'm saying, man.
The objection is simply that you seem to be raising issue about the document that was produced being a copy. The prosecutor, well, let me explain. The prosecutor is worried that it is an issue which you should have raised at the time that the document was produced with the state, not with the witness.
It is not an issue I'm raising, even
Very
now,
well.
my lord.
If it is not, then proceed in a manner which will not raise that apprehension.
Well, this is why I was saying he had not understood me. He was going to understand
Yes.
me if he had let
Yes.
me finish my
Yes, so
cross-examination.
the objection is sustained. You must proceed in a manner which is consistent with the manner in which the documents were produced. That they were produced by consent. If there are any questions now arising from that document, then you can put any questions. All the state is saying, you may not object to the documents now, but you can proceed with your questions.
Thank you, my
Yes.
lord. Just to clarify, I'm not objecting to the production of the documents. Right. Witness, can you confirm?
So you wanted to have the final word.
No, my lord, I thought I was just
Is
clarifying.
that the way we proceed in court?
My
When I have
apologies.
made a ruling, you don't speak back.
My
Thank you.
apologies, my lord. Thank you, my lord. Witness, can you confirm that there exists a document that was presented to your ministry by Black Deck Private Limited as a bidding document?
Yes.
That document was a one bundled document with a number of pages and with a number of things in it.
Yes.
In fact, the standard bidding document requires that that bidding document be bound. Correct.
Yes.
Exhibit number 1. Which I think appears on which is a tax clearance certificate allegedly by Black Deck Private Limited. Page 54. Are you there? Exhibit number 1. Is a, if you could just bear with me. Exhibit number 1. There are no peculiar features that identify that document to be the bidding document that was submitted to you.
Well, so Paratagata was part of the bidding pack.
As part of the bidding.
As one of the requirements.
So in other words, it was plugged out of the bidding pack.
That's exhibit
1, my lord.
Plugged out by who, sir?
That's going to be my next question. But I'm saying, since it is not the entirety of the bidding document, it has been plugged out. In other words, someone, never mind who, plugged it out of a bundle of documents.
Well, I think you're confused. So, come again. Don't confuse.
All right. Okay. Maybe I'm confused.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to confuse myself. I'll ask you, the bidding document that was submitted by Blackdeck Private Limited, how many pages did it have?
Well, I can't remember.
Can't remember. It had more than 10 pages.
I can't remember.
It had 1 page or 2 page. You can't remember. You can't even estimate whether or not it was a document that had a number of pages or it was just a one-paged document.
Okay, look, process zvainoita ndezvekuti panosubmitwa mapapers anotamirwa netechnical team securement, not the accounting office. So I can't remember which pages makani of each and every bit, if that's your question.
So the technical team is the one that accepts these papers that are submitted to the ministry.
Now, if I put it to you that the bidding document that was submitted by Blackdeck Private Limited had more than 30 pages, will you dispute that fact?
I think as you, because I was not there at the time of submission.
I would not know.
Now, I'll go further and tell you that that entirety of the document, which was bound and clearly marked Blackdeck Private Limited, has not been submitted, and this document is just alleged to have been part of that document. So which means someone clearly just photocopied a selected page or selected pages from it.
Ndingava muprofita angasiwa.
Not a prophet that would know about that.
The same goes for exhibit number 3, exhibit number 2. It is on page 53. That page 53 has just been is alleged to have been part of the bidding document, which has not been produced to this honorable court.
Yes, it was part of the pack.
What is it that is peculiar about exhibit number 1, which you are relying on to say that one page is indeed the page that was part of the bidding document?
Okay, so ndingada kutaura kuti mari tichida setinodzoka so that tokujegesera the requirements, the bidding document, the original bidding document, not the submitted one, the bidding document, zaida this tax clearance, and I would assume tine mhaka yakuti rakato acceptwa vakatowina tender zvingareva izvo nekuti rakasubmitwa.
So one of the requirements for the bidding was the tax clearance. So I would assume that it was
And indeed,
submitted,
both
and that is
documents
why
are submitted.
they won the tender.
My question is, how do you see that photocopy that you have before yourself as exhibit 1 and 2 are the exact document that were part of that bidding document?
So obviously, president an estate and the accessor from the ministry. So I'd assume that they are indeed what was submitted by Blackman.
The state is the one that managed to get those documents from the ministry.
So in other words, you cannot tell. It is an assumption. Your answer to say, yes, those are part of the documents that were part of the bidding document is based on assumption.
Well, kufungizira hongo, but ndiwa.
Yes, it is an assumption.
Kudaba ndo anza ya kuda.
But
Ndiwa
those
ma
are
documents are submitted because I trust the state and where they access those documents.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on. In this bid, in this tender, no bidder submitted more than one bid. Is that correct? More than one.
I can't remember. Kuti bidders waka submita shaka say, but I would assume kuti waka consider the four who submitted, they submitted one bidding document each.
I would assume that the four who submitted one bidding document each, although I cannot remember.
Okay. So in other words, Black Deck Private Limited submitted only one bidding document.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Black Deck Private Limited's bid was evaluated in terms of the requirements.
Is that the name of the company that submitted bid?
Black Deck Private Limited. Yes, my lord.
Is that so?
Yes, my lord.
It doesn't look like the exhibit that we have.
Exhibit number 1, my lord, says Black Deck Private Limited. Exhibit number 2 says Black Deck Private Limited.
No, wait. I'm looking for the contract. What exhibit number was it?
The contract, my lord, is exhibit number 3, my lord. I'm not yet at the contract.
Yes, you can see that's exhibit 3.
Yes, my lord.
Yes, that's the standard bidding document.
No, my lord. Exhibit number...
Is it 4?
3, my lord.
I'm looking for the contract.
It's exhibit number 4, my lord.
Exhibit number 4.
Yes,
okay.
I'm into it.
4. So you see the name of the company there?
Yes, my lord. I'm not yet at the contract. I'm still at the bidding stage.
I'm just saying, the company that was dealing, the company that entered the contract is the company that submitted the bid, isn't it?
Oh, well, my lord, I'll get to why the contract says what it says.
No, I'm not there.
Yes.
I'm simply trying to say, you seem to suggest that Black Deck Private Limited submitted a bid.
Yes, my lord.
When the state case is that the company which submitted the bid is that company there which appears on the contract.
It's the state's case, my lord. In cross-examination, I'm allowed to suggest even answers to the
So what
witness.
Are you saying?
I'm suggesting...
I don't get your point, Mr. Jetel. You are saying, you are putting it to him that Black Deck Private Limited submitted a bid.
Yes.
Not the company that's such. So put it to him like that.
No.
I thought you were confusing things. I thought you were getting confused.
No,
if it is your point that contrary to what the state suggests, in fact, your instructions are that the company which submitted the bid is Black Dick Private, then put it to him like that.
My Lord, that will be my conclusion, my Lord. If the
Mr. Jotero, please don't be vexatious. You understand? Yes.
I understand, my Lord.
Yes. If you, all I'm saying is, we know that the name which appears on the tax clearance, what is it? The tax clearance, isn't it? Is Black Dick Private Limited. We know that. We know that the name which appears on the NASA certificate is Black Dick Private Limited, isn't it?
Well, my Lord, I was dealing with evaluation, my Lord.
With
if
what?
you note, my question
Yes.
was to the witness. Black Dick Private Limited, after submitting the tender documents, went through evaluation.
Yeah, but is it the company which submitted the bid?
It is, my Lord. If you go to exhibit number 8,
Number 8.
which is the evaluation report.
Number 8.
Before that, I'm dealing with evaluation.
Exhibit number what? 8?
Pardon me, my Lord. I think it's exhibit 7. Sorry, my Lord.
It's exhibit number 8.
Was it
Number 8, which is the tender award, which is page 65.
the page? The tender award is the tender valuation committee is exhibit 7.
Yes,
Yes.
my Lord.
Yes.
Yes.
and what-
So
what-
yes.
who
So
is the bidder there? Who is the bidder?
If you could just bear with me, my Lord.
It's right there on the front.
it says Black Dick Livestock, my Lord.
Yes.
Yes, my Lord.
Yes.
My Lord, the point that I wish the witness to clarify, and which I'm suggesting to him, is that Black Dick Private Limited, as a company, submitted a bid, and
Well, that's
that
what you are
bid was
putting to him.
evaluated. Yes.
So put that question to him so that he answers it. I don't know why you appear to be exasperated, Mr. General. All I'm saying, if that is your question, put it to him. Because all along, we have been dealing with Black Dick Livestock and yes, poultry. That is what we have been dealing with all along. But if your instructions are that a different company, and not the company that we thought we were dealing with, submitted a bid, then make that point clear. Because we know that if you look at all the papers that we have here, we're dealing with a company known as, which is the company that eventually signed the contract. But if your instructions are to the contrary, then you must make that clear so that we all follow up. The reason why I intervened, I thought you were mixing up the two companies, yet it's deliberate. So if it is deliberate, if your intention is to put it to the witness, that in fact the ministry dealt with Black Dick Private Limited, then you can put that question, we record it, and we record the answer.
And take note, my Lord.
Yes.
Witness, which company participated in the bid? I once asked you this question, but I'll ask you again.
Mr. Jitero, what is the idea? What is the idea?
My Lord, I can rephrase the question, my Lord.
What is the point of saying, I asked you this question before, but I'll ask you again?
The idea, my Lord, is I once asked him to
Yes.
list the 4
Yes,
companies.
and so it's a complaint.
It's not
That
a
the
complaint.
court has forced you to ask that question. I just want you to behave in a manner which is expected of an officer of the court. There's no need to be emotional, isn't it?
Oh. Can you list the companies that participated in the bid?
Kandi charangarira zvakanaka vanoti BlackTech,
BlackTech,
Cotram,
Cotram,
Willitech,
Willitech,
nezvikomborero.
and Chikomborero.
May you please mention them in full?
Ndingatadza kunyatsorangarira, but kana ndicharangarira it was BlackTech, MPOFU and farming what? Something. And then Cotram should be private limited. And then nezvikomborero private limited, and then Willitech private limited. Kana ndicharangarira.
If I still recall, it was Willitech private limited, Chikomborero
Should be private limited, I think.
private limited,
Cotram private limited.
Cotram private limited, if I still remember correctly, and BlackTech,
BlackTech, poultry and livestock.
poultry and livestock.
Part of the bidding documents that were required to be submitted by the companies would require that they submit CR6, CR14, and all the company documents, correct?
That is correct.
Can you please go to page 55? What appears on page 55?
So by page 55, pane CR14.
There's a CR14 on page 55.
Of which company?
A company,
In a company yakanyorwa kunzi BlackTech Private Limited.
BlackTech private limited.
Was that document not part of the bidding document that was tendered and submitted to you by BlackTech Private Limited?
Rangariri.
It was.
I want you to go to page 56. What is on page 56?
Page 56, inoita sekunga extension ya CR14 inema directors.
It's an extension of CR40, which is a list of the directors for BlackTech.
Please say the name in full. Don't just say BlackTech.
Pano randakabata BlackTech Private Limited.
BlackTech private limited.
Can you go to page 57 and 58? What are those documents?
Right. So page 57, pane CR6,
Page 57 is the CR6.
name of company, BlackTech Private Limited.
The name of the company is BlackTech private limited.
Page 58, certificate of incorporation, BlackTech Private Limited.
Were these part of the bidding documents that were presented to your ministry as the tender documents
Yes,
by which company?
the company.
Company yakabidha Black Deck Private Limited.
Black Deck Private Limited.
So now I'll ask you to mention for the record which company participated in the bid in respect of what we're talking about.
So ingatove inyaya yamungange muchizvivukunurira Black Deck Poultry ndo yakasubmita madocuments eBlack Deck Private Limited.
Black Deck Poultry is the one that submitted the documents for Black Deck Private Limited.
What is Black Deck Poultry, according to your understanding?
Ndo zita raiuya vachizviti riri zita reBlack Deck Private Limited.
It was the name that they used when they came.
In other words, it is a trade name.
Tikada kufunga kudaro.
I would like to think so.
Yes.
My Lord General Assessor, the question which is being asked by my colleague is of a legal nature. That they were, the implication is that they were allowed to use a trade name, but a trade name, the company's act has been amended that a trade name has to be registered as well. So I think that has to be made very clear that they were using a trade name, and that trade name is in compliance with the law.
Mr. Zetir?
My Lord, I was following up on the witness answer. The witness indicated that they were calling themselves as such, relating to Black Deck Private Limited, was calling itself as such. And it was therefore a follow-up question to say, in other words, it is a trade name that Black Deck Private Limited was using. And the witness confirmed that that is so. As a matter of fact, the conclusions of whether or not that is lawful, we will deal with them in submissions. But right now, as a matter of fact, I am trying to establish from the witness who participated in the tender. And when they are relating to Black Deck Poultry, what are they relating to? How were they taking it? And he has indicated that they were calling themselves that, but they knew that it is Black Deck Private Limited, using that trade name.
There's a term that we use in law, which is, embarrassment. There are times when, as a legal practitioner, you are responding to a document, you are unable to deal with it because it's vague. That's the situation I am in. I have to make a ruling, but I'm totally embarrassed. I'm simply saying I've been very straightforward to you, Mr. Jetel, that if you want to put something to the witness, then you want to put your instructions to the witness, isn't it? Just package them as such, isn't it? You cannot establish that Black Deck Poultry and so on is a trade name from this witness. It's something peculiarly known by your client, isn't it? This witness may agree with you, but he doesn't know. The person who knows, perhaps, is your client. So if those are your instructions from your client, put it to him. Say to him, notwithstanding the differences between the, Black Deck, what is it? Black Deck Poultry and so on, was just a trade name. Are you in a position to dispute that? That is how you should be putting your instructions, as direct as that. Which is the reason why the prosecution is whether or not they were entitled to submit documents in a trade name, that's a different issue. But whether or not it's a trade name, it's something that's peculiarly known by your client, which is now being conveyed to the witness by way of what we call pointing it to a witness. That's the approach in court. You put your instructions to a witness, isn't it? But the way you're asking it now, if you say to him, which means it's a trade name, and he says yes, does he know that? So I've really abstained from guiding you because you tend to be frustrated when I'm trying to give you direction. You see, that is what you should. I'm sure those are instructions emanating from your client. That I know what you are trying to do, which you are entitled to do. Maybe you want to drive at the point that the name which appears in the contract was just a trade name. Is that not so? So why don't you put it to him like that? My instructions are this, that. Then let him comment. If he knows, if he can comment, you comment. If he can't, you tell us. That's the reason for the objection by the state. You can't extract that, you can't establish that through him. It's something peculiarly known by your client and not by the witness. It stands to reason.
Thank you very much, my lord. I think I'll proceed. If I may proceed to the next question, my lord.
So, witness, do you know whether or not Black Deck Livestock and so on is the trade name of Black Deck Private Limited? You have not answered that question.
Yeah, ndapindura ndikati kuda pamwe trade name.
Very well. So you can proceed.
Kuda pamwe.
And proceed.
What I said, it could have been a trade name.
You can proceed.
The first page to the bidding document that was submitted by Black Deck Private Limited indicated indeed that the company that was submitting or participating was Black Deck Private Limited. On its face, I will put it to you that the first page of the bidding document that Black Deck Private Limited.
Quick reference.
It is not part of those documents because the bidding document was not submitted in evidence. What is your comment to that?
What's your question, sir?
I'm putting it to you that the bidding document which was not submitted in evidence, which you do not have, of Black Deck Private Limited, the very first page indicated on the face of it that the company that was bidding was Black Deck Private Limited, and that it was using a trade name of Black Deck Livestock and Poultry Farming.
Anisha rangarira vividly. Could Rangara Kaita say the face of the bidding document?
I cannot remember vividly that page, that first page of the bidding document.
Now, so I will put it to you that the company that you are dealing with is indeed Black Deck Private Limited and not Black Deck Poultry, Livestock and Poultry Farming.
Since Muruko Amirira noted.
After submitting the bidding documents or the bid, Black Deck Private Limited went through the 3 stages required by law in terms of evaluations. Is that correct?
handingadi kuconfirma the 3 stages, but ndoziva kuti vakapinda the evaluation stage.
I don't want to confirm the 3 stages, but what I do know was that they completed the initial evaluation stage.
Right. So, in other words, they went through the preliminary evaluation. Correct?
I think I did preliminary evaluation, but it's evaluation.
I would not call it the preliminary evaluation, but it's an evaluation.
Let's go to page 8 of the standard bidding document. Page 8 of the exhibit number 3, which you submitted to this honorable court, lists the 3 evaluation stages through which every winning bid must go through. Is that correct?
Yes, now I can confirm because I've read our bidding document, the 3 stages, yes.
Can you list the 3 stages?
Do you want me to list or to read?
You can read, it's fine.
Okay, fine. So evaluation of bids. Bids will be evaluated using the following methodology. Preliminary examination to confirm all documents required have been provided. To confirm the eligibility of bidders in terms of that section of the regulations. And to confirm that the bid is administratively compliant in terms of the sections of the regulations.
Let's wait there. Will I be correct to say that the bidding document presented by Black Deck Private Limited went through this stage?
You are correct.
It was found to be eligible.
You are correct.
It was found to be compliant.
Yes, you are correct. By the committee, yes.
It was found to conform to the requirements of the PPDPA.
Yes. At that stage, yes.
At this stage, if it had presented a forged ZIMRA certificate or a forged NASA certificate, it ought to have been picked at this stage.
Yes, you're right. If the teams had done a good job, yeah.
And we are talking about a presidential scheme which you say your ministry officials really looked at critically and knew the importance of such, correct?
Yes.
The members of that committee are senior members of your ministry. You wouldn't leave such a presidential court scheme of 80-something million to the whims of junior members, correct?
I wouldn't remember the members, but I would assume they were middle level to senior.
I'll take you to
62, to page 62. Exhibit number 7, my lord. Those members of that committee, C. Garise, M. Rupfutse, P. Mashiri, P. Mondiwa, those members are senior members of your ministry. That's all.
You think so?
I'm putting it to you.
Is it
I'm putting it to you.
I can't remember whether they are senior or not.
Right. It did not end there. It went through the technical evaluation according to this standard bidding document.
Yes, from these 3 stages, yes.
It passed that stage.
Yes.
No red flags were raised at that stage.
At this stage, no.
It was found to be compliant to the specifications of the requirements of the tender. Correct?
Yes, according to the team, yes.
It did not end there. It went to the financial evaluation.
Yes. That stage.
Nothing amiss was found at that evaluation stage by your ministry.
Yes, at that stage, by that committee, yes.
The price that they had put was not put in issue to be too expensive at that stage.
Yes. In fact, vanongotarisa chete mabids.
I only look at the bids.
Kuti price yaiswa apa iyi. Avazotarisi kuti is it exorbitant or not? That's the responsibility of somebody.
They'll just look at the price and they will not consider if it's exorbitant or not.
They don't negotiate during the evaluation process.
Is it not correct that in fact they found that bid to be the lowest bid, compliant to the specifications?
Yes, according to the report by the committee, it was the lowest bid. And compliant at that stage.
Will I be correct if I summarize it this way? Black Deck Private Limited tendered to your ministry saying we can supply these goats, and when we are supplying these goats we have a certain cost build up structure that leads to a price of roughly about $175 per goat, and they were found to be the lowest amongst the people who tendered. In other words, everyone else was above that. Maybe others were saying 200, 300.
Yes.
Will you agree with me that the price that they'd quoted for was not a price that is arrived at on looking at it from a simplistic way of a person just going to buy a goat for $30 and then selling it to government for $175? But it included a whole lot of other things in that pricing equation.
Yes, obviously I wouldn't assume kuti vangangokanda mutengo nje.
Yes, Yes, I wouldn't assume that they'll just come up with the price.
Let us list the things that were involved in the price. Would you agree with me? Yes, I can list and you can maybe dispute it if you want to dispute it. The pricing would include the cost of setting up pens for these goats in various places dotted all over the country.
It would make sense.
If I still remember, that would make sense.
It would include the cost of security for those goats that they would envisage to buy.
And ingacharangarira zvangu, but to a certain extent it makes sense.
I cannot remember that.
Maybe less extent.
It would include the cost for transportation and logistics of the goats, maybe to move them from Gweru to Mtare or wherever they would have bought them.
That makes sense.
It would include the costs of giving veterinary care to those goats whilst they are being kept.
To a lesser extent.
If I still remember.
It would also include profit.
It makes sense. They're in business.
And so, given all these costs, the pricings of all the other three bidders who then failed was above that.
From the evaluation report, by the evaluation teams, yes.
Right. The issue did not end with the financial evaluation. That bid went through also to another person other than your ministry, to what you would loosely refer to as the SPOC, as the Special Procurement Oversight Committee. Correct?
That is correct.
This committee is run by who? By which department of government?
That's Procurement Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe.
This committee has oversight to look into whether or not the various committees that we have spoken about, the three committees, have done their job correctly, whether or not the tender meets the requirement, whether or not it is a valid bid.
Yes.
That committee by PRAS did not raise any red flags. It found the bid to be compliant.
This also.
That is correct.
The reason why we have these four-staged committees looking into one bid is to really ensure that every bid that is then eventually given is valid, is proper, and is compliant with all the provisions of the PPDPA. Correct?
Yes, this was no basarao, but not necessarily saying kuti stages essay wow vagaita basarana.
Not necessarily to say that in all those stages they did a proper job.
You would agree with me that to validate a tax clearance certificate that has been put into a document and a NASA compliance certificate is very easy to do.
Yes, it is. It is easy to do.
One would have expected it to have been very easy for people whose job is to look at the tender documents, at the documents tendered in all these 4 stages.
Ndizvozvo, that is kana munhu ari kuita basa nemazvo.
That is correct. That is if the person is doing their job diligently.
Right. After going through these stages, your ministry then wrote indicating that the tender had been awarded. Correct? Your ministry communicated to the successful person that you have been successful, you have been awarded a tender.
Oh.
Correct.
Yes.
Who did it communicate to?
Kana ndicharangarira to Black Deck
I still recall
and
it was to
operations
Black Deck.
manager of, I think.
The operations manager was Mr. Ho.
No, but I'm saying to who was the successful party? To who was the letter addressed to?
To Black Deck.
May you please say the name in full?
If I remember correctly from the records, it must be Black Deck Private Limited. It
Yes.
was addressed to Black Deck Private Limited.
Yes. Can you please relate to page number 65, exhibit number 8?
Yes.
The letter mentions in a number of ways, in I think about 4 times, we had 5 times we had been successful. Who does it mention?
Black Deck Private Limited, this letter.
So, who was awarded the tender to supply goats?
So, based on this letter, it was Black Deck Private Limited.
It was not Black Deck Livestock and Poultry Farming, correct?
Maybe you can call it neither here nor there.
I'm saying, was your ministry clear when it was awarding a tender to who it was awarding?
To the bidder,
Yes, which bidder?
successful bidder.
Yes.
And in this case, based on this letter, it was addressed to Black Deck Private Limited.
Now, after awarding the tender to Black Deck Private Limited, another portion of that tender was awarded to someone else. Correct?
And the Charangarira.
I cannot remember.
Another party called CHIMOMBE was awarded a tender to supply a certain number of goats.
It's in account. It's possible.
Would you remember at what price per goat was that party awarded a tender?
I can't remember.
The bidding documents of all these parties would have been useful to have you remember at least what other parties bidded for, what price was then successful. It would have been important, isn't it?
Is that a question?
I was just putting it to you that would it have been important, but anyway. Right, you then signed a contract which has been presented as exhibit number 4. Page 32. Page 32 to page 50. Correct?
Yes, signed for me. Some directors, I think, representing the purchaser. Yes.
Do you stand by that document since it was signed on your behalf?
Let me try to
It's on page 50, the signatures. This is where it says Dr. J. Basera, PP, someone then signs there.
Yes, I can confirm it originally of this.
You had approved this contract to be signed.
Yes, as the accounting officer and subject to further due diligence.
So at this stage, you were happy with everything, that everything had been done above board.
Yes, considering the stages as well as the spoke, no objection, obviously we were satisfied. But of course, we instructed our teams to carry on due diligence before they sign the contract. Because due diligence doesn't end with a no objection from part. It still has to go on.
Okay. So, let me get this correct. Prior to your signing of this contract, you instructed that a due diligence be carried out.
Yeah, that was an internal discussion though.
What was the outcome of the due diligence?
Obviously, it was the signing of this contract.
No, I'm saying, if you said carry out a due diligence, it would, correct me if I'm wrong, it would entail that those parties that are carrying out a due diligence look into who has been awarded this tender. Is this a person who can sue or be sued, who can sign a contract? Does it have valid documents? Is it in compliance with the PPDPA? And all those issues are looked into at the due diligence.
Yeah. I would assume so, yes.
And you were satisfied it passed that due diligence report?
Yes, at departmental level, yes.
So you were then, based on all those documents, you were then satisfied that everything was above board and this contract could be signed.
Yes, and he's deciding at that stage.
Yes. Who were you contracting to?
To Black Deck.
Please say the name in full.
So according to this contract, it's to Black Deck livestock and poultry farming.
In your view, were you contracting to a total stranger, to a person who had never participated in a bid? You were giving a contract to someone new.
I think the team here or the department was contracting somebody who had bidded.
Who had bidded? Who were they contracting?
So in this case, according to this contract, that's Black Deck livestock and poultry.
Had Black Deck livestock and poultry farming bidded?
Yes.
It had bidded as who?
So now I think it had bidded as Black Deck livestock and poultry, I think. But like I said, these submissions are done at departmental level and even evaluated at committee level and departmental level still.
You mentioned before that no party was required to submit more than one bid, correct?
Yeah, I would assume so, yes. It makes sense.
Not only does it make sense, but it is a requirement of the bidding documents that no one bidder.
Yeah, which idea makes sense.
So, in your understanding, in your ministry, did you have two different people, Black Deck livestock and poultry farming as one person and Black Deck Private Limited as another person?
So Andinga Ziwa, especially considering that it went through all those stages, with the Rimuraiwa trade name or Rimuraiwa incorporated name Andinga Ziwa.
I would not know, especially having gone through all those stages, as to whether the one name was a trade name or the other one was an incorporated name.
Black Deck livestock and poultry farming never submitted. Did you see any company document or tax clearance for Black Deck livestock and poultry farming?
So the Andinga Ziwa never capita, but from what we have perused together, the Taona Black Deck Private Limited is submitting the documents, but under the banner, the bidding document as Black Deck livestock and poultry.
Okay.
Under the banner, there is the name Black Deck Private Limited.
No, but I think is the trade name or what's the relationship? So
But I would not know from those that submitted their bids.
What is it?
Do you want to answer the question?
Unfortunately.
Very well, witness, you need to confine yourself to answering questions.
But my lord, you can use a person to respond. But anyway, I'm guided.
Yes, I do appreciate. But the point that I'm putting to you, Doc, is that in all fairness, when your ministry was writing either Black Deck livestock and poultry farming or writing Black Deck Private Limited, they were dealing with one and the same person.
I would make that assumption if they were dealing with one and the same person. And decision number it's neither here nor there. The two can go. Those are that I think that's zero mugato tools. Was it a trade name or not?
I would further on.
Program name.
I would further on. Put it to you and refer you to page 47 of the contract that you signed.
At page?
Clause 29, page 47.
So I don't have 47 here.
I don't have page 47.
Close one.
29.
Okay, fine.
It's actually page 16 at the bottom, isn't it?
Yes, 16. 16 at the bottom. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that, madam. Right. What were you referring to as Black Deck PL?
Lapha muzvingareva kuti poultry and livestock or private limited handikachaziva.
If it stands for poultry and livestock or private limited, I would not know.
Kakaurura kusvikisa.
We just have to bear with the court. It is taking now.
Yes.
That clause required your ministry to pay a certain percentage of the contract to someone. Correct?
Wongo.
Yes.
To who?
So kana mukatitendera ndiverenge.
Yes, you can read.
So terms of payment 29.1, Black Deck PL will receive 30% advance payment and the remaining after delivery of goods to Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, and an advance payment guarantee from a registered commercial bank is needed.
Okay. You indeed paid a certain amount in terms of this clause
Indeed,
at a later stage.
yes.
To who? Who did you pay?
And in regard to Black Deck,
You see, we have this problem of the two names. This is why I keep on saying, say it in full. Who did you pay?
ndingada kurefer kuma documents kuti who was the account holder,
Okay.
so that I can say kuti ndeyuripi specifically rakabada.
I will refer you to page 75, to the end of that bundle of documents.
Okay.
Yes, to who did you pay in terms of that clause?
Well, I can't know, but this looks like a bank statement
Yes.
headed Black Deck Private Limited.
Yes.
So I'd assume that the monies went to Black Deck Private Limited.
Was that payment made in terms of this clause?
I think I can confirm that. Which payment, by the way?
The payments that were made to that account by your ministry.
Sorry, I may need guidance here. Are you referring to this bank statement or the payments that were made by the ministry? Or to this bank statement, information on this statement?
Okay, let me clarify. When you are giving evidence in chief, you indicated that you paid an amount of over 7-point-something million US dollars.
Equivalence?
Equivalence.
And it was in RTGS.
Yes, in RTGS. So I'm asking, all that $1 million, the 7-point-something plus $1 million, did you pay to Black Deck Livestock and Poultry Farming, or you paid to Black Deck Private Limited account?
So neither here nor there, the winning bidder, who in this case said according to this statement is Black Deck Private Limited.
So now, clarify to us, clause number 29, Black Deck PL, who is it referring to?
So in this case, I wouldn't know, who, because PL could mean poultry and livestock, or it could mean private limited. So I wouldn't know.
Okay, I'll also ask, who were you contracting?
So neither here nor there, Black Deck Poultry or Black Deck Private Limited.
When you say neither here or there, do you mean that it does not matter, it's one and the same person?
It's one and the same thing. I mean, let's not argue about this. It's Black Deck, Baba.
It's Black Deck what?
The one you are representing. Yes. That's the one.
I'm not representing any Black Deck. Black Deck Private Limited is not anywhere in the dock. Now, let's go to that clause again.
Page?
The same page as page 16. What did you understand by that term?
Which term?
The term that you have read it, but I'm asking for your understanding of that clause.
The clause, not the term.
Yes, the clause.
Okay. So it would mean ministry would make an advance payment of 30% of the total contract sum.
Okay. How much?
And
Wait.
provided that the company, in this case Black Deck, gives us a bank guarantee.
I'll just ask you to say the name in full whenever you say Black Deck. I'll just, for purpose of the record.
Yeah, but we've agreed on that.
Okay.
Neither here nor there. That's it.
So from now onwards, whenever you say Black Deck and end there, we'll take it that you are referring to one and the same person, Black Deck Private Limited and Black Deck Livestock and Poultry Farming.
For this conversation, yes, let's treat it that way.
Now, this clause required your ministry to pay 30% in advance. Correct?
Yes. Provided there was a bank guarantee.
Yes. My calculations say that you were supposed to pay, it was 30% of what in that contract?
Of the contract sum.
Don't you think we can take the lunch break now?
Indeed, my lord.
Then you can proceed after lunch.
Indeed, my lord.
How much time? Maybe about 30 minutes? Okay. But also we'll take the lunch break for 30 minutes. Court to adjourn.